Hello, and welcome to the studio above the clouds with Serendipity Sellers. I'm a little bit early, a couple minutes early, like I always am. That comes from growing up doing theater. So I'll always be a little bit early if I have anything to say about it. So I'm going to get the space ready here and let folks join. Anybody who's going to be here live for the event, this is recorded, of course, so you'll be able to return to it. And then we'll get started live for the event here in right at 2 minutes, it looks like. Yeah, it looks like I've got about 2 minutes. I do need to clean up the space a little bit because I have been working right up till the minute, and I've got myself a very well used space. So this is where I'm going to be working. But as you can see, I kind of need to reclaim the space because I have been painting instead of making pottery. Working on this owl, there will be in early June a live owl painting that I do, and then of course we have a painting event up here that is the owl. But I'm gonna put this guy away because I've been working on him. There's a little mermaid that I've had in progress. I think she's mostly done. There's a few things I want to add. Actually, there's one thing I want to add on it. I've got this done. I don't want to move it too much because it's got some crystalline pieces that are still drying in the corner. Got a rose that I've been working on. Get it put off to the side here. And then I really like this one, mostly because I really like animals, but a dog. It's not a dog I actually know. It's just a random dog that I painted, but that's one that I'll have available. And I think I'm going to start doing more dogs because I really like painting dogs. I might even start doing some pet portraits. All right, let me put this aside. That one is dry. All right, and we are ready to rock and roll. So again, it is dead on top of the hour. It's noon here. I'm in Georgia, so Eastern time. And we're going to go ahead and get started. I wanted to give an example of one of the events that's going to be up here at the studio above the clouds, and that's a basic pinch pot. And I'm actually going to do it like the picture associated with this event and turn it into, I want it to be something useful, something functional. I really like functional pottery. I think most people want something that they can use and display, so beautiful and functional. So we're going to make a mug. So pot, but then put a handle onto it as well, so that you can use it and technically use it for your tea, your coffee, your whatever you want to drink out of it. So we're going to make a simple pinch pot. This is a really, really great gateway pottery. I think hand building is great gateway. I actually got into pottery. This space is super messy, by the way. This is one of those do as I say, not as I do things. You should work in a clean space. But I know that all of this is just mica powder. It's going to burn off in the kiln, and I'm not real worried about it. There's not going to be a ton of other stuff like this, so it's not going to be a problem. So I know what I'm doing here, but this is definitely a do as I say, not as I do moment, because you should definitely work with your clay in a clean space. But we're just going to work where I was painting right now, so we're just going to jump right into it. So let's go ahead and get this out, and let's begin with the clay here. I've got it already separated and kept moist in a nice plastic bag. Hate the plastic bags, but love them for pottery. Hate them for the environment, love them for pottery. This is 2.5 pounds of clay. So we're going to start with 2.5 pounds of clay. When we do the mug making workshops, we actually have more than 2.5 pounds of clay because the mug making, you do 3 mugs. There's the us mugs, and you do 2 regular size big mugs and then a small mug. So the idea is it's for a family. And so that you get more clay than this to make that. But we're just going to start with 2.5 pounds of clay. I have already worked this clay really, really well. So you didn't have to really watch me do this whole thing for a lot of time. But, this is a big part of it. This is super important. You got to get all the air pockets, all the air bubbles out of it. So I spent some serious time doing that as already. The clay is pre-wedged. We call that wedging. And it is pre-wedged clay. But because I learned what I was going to say before, was that I learned on a wheel thrown pottery before I ever did hand building. Wedging is very, very important, super important for wheel throwing, and you can't really skip that step. Hand building, sometimes you can kind of get away with skipping that step. I still really wouldn't recommend it. I would never recommend it, but you can kind of sort of, because of what you're going to do if you get away with it. I just always do it because my intro was wheel. I do think a good intro, as I was saying before, is hand building, um, because it is quote unquote easier. I think than wheel. I find wheel very satisfying, but man, you can have been doing wheel throwing for 2 decades and have a bad day and nothing will go right and everything falls down. And it's just how it is. And so learning that can be frustrating. It can be frustrating because it just takes a lot of time and practice. But I feel like with hand building anyway, you can really walk out with something functional and beautiful on very possibly your first try. Because it is very intuitive and it's kind of in our bones because we've been doing it so long. So, all that said, let's go ahead and jump in to this pinch pot that's going to be a mug. And since it is going to be a mug, the first thing I want to do is go, okay, I'm going to need some clay to be the handle. And this is a super heavy mug. We know I make heavy stuff anyway. I have a tendency, if my stuff can't take you out, it's probably not my stuff. But we need a handle for this. So we want to pinch off some to be the handle. And then if there's anything else, like maybe we want, when we do the foot, which is the bottom of it, are we going to want to elevate it? Are we going to make it fancy and put like an extra foot on it or something? And on a first one, that might not even be stuff we want to think about, but that is stuff that at this stage you think about because you'll just pull off a little extra clay to set aside and be your, hey, this is my handle, my foot, my whatever else. If you were going to do a lid, if you were going to make a mug and do one of the little strainers, like tea strainers to go down inside of it, you pull all of that stuff. And we have plenty of clay for that because this really technically is, again, this is a lot of clay for a mug. But I wanted to also show what 2.5 pounds of clay kind of looks like for everybody. All right, I'm going to pop this aside and put it in the plastic so we don't dry up. And put it back in the plastic, and that gives me this to work with. And so now what I want to do is, just to make my life easier, is kind of get this in the vaguest idea of the shape of the mug. So if it's going to be a short bowl-like mug, I'm going to kind of get this in the shape of a short bowl-like mug. If it's going to be a tall cylindrical mug, I'm going to kind of work on getting this wad of clay vaguely into that shape, just because it's going to make life easier. I mean, technically, you could just start working with it from this, but it's just going to make your life easier if this is in kind of sort of the shape you want it to end up in. And I want this one to be a little bit, well, I kind of want it to be between those two, frankly. I want it to be a little taller, but then bullish. So we'll just play with that. We'll see how this goes. There we go. We'll make it tall here so I don't have to pinch up too much. And this, oh, you can't see it. You always want to have some water nearby, but this is actually water and white vinegar. White vinegar really has a really specific acidity that works nicely with clay to help, as long as you don't use too much. There is such a thing as too much. All things in moderation. All things in moderation. But it has a specific acidity that helps bind the clay. And so when you're doing like your handles, or if there are cracks in your clay, white vinegar can be super helpful to get your clay to hold together nicely. It's a really, really nice substance for that. So I always have a bowl of water mixed with white vinegar to the side, and I'm going to bring you up and a little closer so you can see what's going on, because you don't really need to see me. You need to see what we're doing here. All right. As you can see, I have the door open because it's a beautiful rainy day. All right, here we go. Down in the center. I don't do this real, nothing fancy. Just taking a thumb and shoving it down in the center. And my thumb doesn't even reach the bottom. So right now, I don't have to worry too much about it. I will need to judge so I don't go all the way through. I want it to not be too thick, not too thin on the bottom. But first I need to just kind of pinch it open. And this is why it's called pinch, because I am pinching. I'm pinching. Pinching it open. I'm pinching. Okay, now I'm using my thumb. It's good that I don't have a nail anymore. I broke my nail over the weekend. To rub across the bottom and compress down there some, but I need to go a little deeper anyway once I get this open some more. But yeah, this is it. This is making a pinch pot. This is it. It's like playing with Play-Doh, guys. You've done this before. Anyone can do this. Everyone can do this. I was at an event this weekend, and I had a bunch of people, so many people come up and say, "Oh, I love your stuff. It's so cool. It's so pretty. Da, 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 da. I'm just not creative." And if you know me, you know that goes right through me, because I'm a firm believer that everybody is creative. Might not have built that capacity in yourself. You might not have allowed yourself or been allowed to be creative. You may be in a situation right now where that's just not something that's available to you, or you may have been in situations where that's not available to you. Our public school system does not do a great job of encouraging that in people. In fact, it does a really lovely job, unless you have some really, really killer teachers, of discouraging that. But people are creative. We are creative. Human beings just are. It's what makes us us. And if you have no interest in that's totally different. But I thoroughly believe that all humans have innate creativity and the ability to do any of this kind of stuff. And this comes so naturally to us. Again, this is just kind of hardwired into us. And all I'm doing here, I'm really just pinching. I'm pinching, I'm pinching, I'm pinching, I'm pinching. I'm trying to keep all the sides the same width. So that's big. So trying to keep them the same width so that nothing gets thinner or thicker. If I see a lot of cracking or breaking happening, like you'll see, I keep compressing, pressing on the rim here. Compression is really important to hold the clay together, to help hold those clay particles. So that's really important. And I may not. There we go. Having a hard time getting my hand down in there. I'm opening up that bottom a little bit more. And so much of this is what you want from it. I mean, how smooth do you want this? I have a tendency to like almost like the fingerprints in it because I know that the glaze is going to do cool stuff over them. And so I have a tendency to leave some of that stuff because I like what the glaze does. But that can give it kind of an unfinished look. So it can be nice to go ahead and finish that up. And now I'm pressing down on the bottom and in here to give a little bit of foot. And you see what we've already done in like 17 minutes? It's already a cup. I'm pulling up for some smoothness. My finger got a cramp. It happens. And I'm not worrying too much about above this. I'm just working on smoothing out the bottom. Because if I pay too much attention to, oh no, there's a line right above, I'll get distracted and never make it around. My finger in a little vinegar water. You can imagine it does not smell good in the studio necessarily all the time. Smells like vinegar. It can be, it smells like pickles. It smells like pickles. Minus the dill, I guess. You can at this point. Well, I kind of want the pressure. I was going to say you can switch over to your sponge, but the pressure of your fingertip is really nice here. And it's not too much. So that's one of those learned, like, how do you know whenever it's enough pressure? Practice. I mean, it really is. Less practice than wheel, but practice. It's warming up. It's starting to get humid in here. Might also be doing pottery, but it's actually starting to get humid. Won't be too long before the air conditioner will have to turn on. Blah. All right, I'm bringing my finger the rest of the way up. I'm going to try to give this a nice smooth edge. Smooth outside, I should say, not edge. Now we'll move to the sponge. Always corresponding pressure on the inside. Because otherwise, I would be falling over right now. Get a little bit more pressure. And again, always trying to keep the walls about the same thickness. Not the end of the world if they're not. I mean, unless you're going to have them adjudicated at a show or something and have things judged. Otherwise, it's just not that big a deal. Some of the best people I know are kind of wonky. So why wouldn't some of the best pottery be kind of wonky? You know, that's how I look at it. Plus, it means the machine didn't make it. A person did. You did. That's even better, right? That's how I look at it. I have scoliosis, so I've always looked at things being a little crooked as definitely not so bad, that's for sure. All right. Little compression check. And I do have these little devices that let you make sure that your lips are on the mugs are all the same height and all kinds of stuff. Guess I could whip that out, but I don't honestly use those very often. I just kind of wing it a lot of times. But I do have those if you wanted to get really precise, like super precise. I just kind of like winging it myself. All right, cleaning out the inside some. I managed to keep the inside pretty smooth, but I am going to use this to just do some compression, spins. I'm pressing down, not too much, just lightly. That's good. And then very lightly now because I'm not able to put my hand on the outside to hold the walls up. All right, and so now what you can do is let this, actually I'm not going to let this do anything. I'm not letting this do anything. I'm going to turn this over terrifyingly. There we go. And we're going to work on the foot. So it's super thick or thickish. And now what we're going to do is work on getting something cool to look at. So I'm going to do what's called collaring, at least on the wheel. And I'm just holding my finger around where I want this to, whoops, almost pulled it off. There we go. Bring the neck or bring the foot in just a little bit. There we go. Just a little. And you don't have to do this. This is just a style. And I'm flipping my sponge. That's fun. Look at it. Look. Sponge flipping, yeah. There we go. One more good press in. One more time. Oh yeah. All right. Now we can do whatever we want to trim this foot. And again, I tend to be, I don't know, I like kind of messy, asymmetrical, fun, different. So I don't get too crazy into like super trimming. I want it to look finished, but not finished. I like some asymmetry. I like things to look a little wild. So I might not go crazy far with this. I do have, there we go, had a piece of glaze from the table stuck into that foot that I just pulled out with my fingernail. Let's cover that right back up. The joy of wet clay. Yep, let's cover that right back up. But yeah, you can decide at this stage, like if you wanted to use a tool and, I don't know, trim this so that it was all real symmetrical, and take this and do, you know, it's again not necessarily really my style. But I'll do some just to kind of give some ideas here. You know, trim. So you could trim that. You could cut a layer of this off to make it thinner if you wanted to. At this point, so we could, you know, straight up, this isn't actually the best tool for it. I need my little hook tool, but you can just take something like this and actually make the whole foot a little thinner. Terrifying, I know, right? So hard to make yourself do something like this. Like, oh my God, I got this to this stage and I'm doing what? I'm going to ruin it. Probably not. You're probably not going to. You're probably, even if you went through it, we could probably fix it at this stage. And you know what? Worst case scenario, you start over again. This only took us 28 minutes to get here. It's not the end of the world. Creativity is fun, not stressful. But yeah, we're just going to cut that a little bit thinner because we didn't need all that. I told you it was too much clay. I'm not even using the right tool for this, but it doesn't matter that much. I have a tendency to just use what I got. Consider that a strength and probably a weakness as well. I know that I always had a tendency to just use what I had, and therefore I had a tendency not to, like, you know, ask for additional resources, for instance, when I was a theater teacher, or when I led teams in the corporate space, because I will figure out how to make things work with what I got. And there is some real power in being like, no, I need blah, blah, blah in order to make this happen versus just being like, you know what? And I know that's the theater background too. I got coffee cans in a barn. We're going to put on a Broadway show. There we go. So there, that gives you an idea. Those are the kind of things we can do just to make it. And then we could, that just made it thinner. That didn't make it pretty. Just made it not like super heavy because we just took off. I mean, that's a substantial amount of clay. And we'll keep that. I'll put that in the bag so that we can reuse it like today. Um, but then you can also do something to make it like you could do a circle in our cycles around here to make it attractive, all number of things. You can draw pictures on the bottom. Let me make this look finished real quick by smoothing it out. A little bit of moisture. And then we'll smooth her over here. Just like playing with clay too. Sometimes I'll just do stuff just to keep touching the clay. I'm like, it can't be over yet. I can't have finished. And I'm not finished. Not at all, because we are going to put a handle on this baby in a moment. Oh, got something on the outside. Handles. They can be a struggle. Struggle bus. But I'll show you how I like to make them. I was looking around to see if I had my little, I've got one of those little handle templates. I don't always use it. I won't use it here. I don't see it right now. And it's not that big a deal. But I do have a number of handle templates to kind of help with forming handles. Different shapes. They're fun. They do help a lot. They're nice. All right, nice flat base, much thinner. You could always put little feet on this if you wanted to. But again, I do prefer, I made it asymmetrical again because it's just how I think. I had a boomer, old dude, older guy, gentleman. Love his heart, bless his heart, I say in the grand Southern tradition. Come to my booth on Saturday. I was at a art fair, and he took a look at my asymmetrical stuff and asked if, so is this stuff done by a beginner, or is it just made to look like it's been done by a beginner? Smile and nod, boys. Smile and nod. He didn't buy anything. He didn't even stay any longer. He just kind of dropped that one and moved on. Drop an insult and move on. He had a lovely USA t-shirt and hat on. I like that. Now I'm flipping it back. I'm flipping. Yes, indeed, I'm flipping. All right, that came almost out of shape, but not really. And again, you can pinch this to be much thinner. And in fact, I'll do some more just so you can kind of see. This is, for some people, this is quite thick. I like thick stuff. I like it thick. I like that substantial, hey, if you drop it, it might actually still hold together, life proof kind of stuff. I had one lady come to my booth and commented on a couple of my pieces being, because I do have a couple pieces that I've made very thin, and she was impressed by how thin some of them were. So obviously, I've got that in me. I didn't even think they were that thin. Um, but I tend to strongly prefer really, really thick, substantial, like oomph pieces, just because I do want stuff that can hold up, can take it, take it. I make things that can stand up to me, basically. That's the way it is. That is exactly how it is. Get out of there, dude. All right, so let's go ahead and grab our handle piece here. Pop that baby on. All right, look like this. Now, for handles, you do pulling, which I've never been very good at. We'll see how this goes. We'll see. We'll see. Maybe I don't jinx myself here. I have some dexterity issues, and this can make that a little bit problematic. This does all the compression that you need here so that they don't crack. That's a big part of this. But I do have a tendency to have some issues with this and not getting them, because you need it. Let me see if I can do this without talking. You need this to be the same width again you're going for. So similar compression all the way, same width. And as you can probably see, I have some serious dexterity issues and a hard time getting this to come out correctly. But as long as I can get a portion of it to work out the way I need it to, I'll be fine. All right, let's see how this works out. I want to go there and there, which means bop, 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 bop. Okay, lay that there for a minute. We need it to have something to grab onto. Actually, here we go. That's the wrong one. That is what I was painting with. This is the problem with doing too many things at once. Paintbrushes are super useful for this. I use paintbrushes to make pottery a lot. It's for this portion. All right. So this is where I get got all the time. You need to push in, but try not to squeeze too much, because you'll see it if you do in the final product. All right. There we go. That'll make it not have to take so much weight on, so it's a little less likely to separate. And then let's go ahead and smooth this baby out some. It's a little extra moist. I said it. I said the word. I know. Some people hate that word. It's like one of those words. It's one of those words. Don't neglect the underside. That is where it will separate. All right, so now let's check out the bottom one. It's looking really good, actually. That one connected really well. But we're going to go around all the edges. And we're going to carefully, basically paint it down onto this mug. And then I'm going to do this a little bit more, make it nice and smooth, because the texture on this is not going to be fun to hold on to right now. And you want to think about that. What's this going to be like to hold, other than heavy? Because my mugs are always heavy. Not always, but a lot. There we go. That's how I want this baby to dry, right there. Okay, and from here, it's really what you want to do with it. Let me get this to the side because it's already drying out big time. But yeah, so we've got, some clay left over here. And so now you can start thinking about if you want to use that clay for this mug, if you want to decorate it in any way, if there's anything you want to put on it. I am going to, let's take this piece since it's already ready already. And I'm going to take this part of it. It's right here. I'm going to make it a little bit longer. And it kind of looks like a stem already. So let's roll with that. There's a little pock mark on the inside of this. I'm gently smoothing out. Well, not exactly gently. I'm smoothing. Gently might have been a misnomer. Okay, so let's say we take a stem. A petal. This could also be, oh my gosh, I mean, you could put somebody's initial. You could put, I don't know, the logo for their favorite sports team. Not my bag, but hey, gift ideas. Their favorite musical artist. And then go with representative colors. Their school. I'm stuck in a loop, apparently. But you get me. Their favorite plant. You could also draw on it. So you could sketch into it with this point. So you can do that. I'd wait for it to get a little harder before you do something like that. So we'd wait for it to get a little more dry. If we want to stick something to it, we want to do that while it's still pretty wet. If we want to carve into it, we want it to be a little more dry. And then if we want to draw on it with glaze, which you can also do, I've got some underglazes. The particular tray I'm thinking of that's got some nice drawing on it with underglaze is still in a bag, or I'd show it to you. It's still packed up from the weekend. You can just get some really cool effects. But each one of those is a different and can also be complementary choice, because, for instance, I'll do underglaze on this flower after it's dried some. So yeah, so something like, let's take a little bit of that away. That seems flower-ish. And so we'll pop that here on the side, and that can be our decoration for this. So let me, where are we going to put that? Try to make it so you can see it. Something like that. Not like that. So right there. Okay. So we're just scoring this. And then we're going to get a little damp, a little wet. I found a different word. Just a little bit, just a little bit. There we go. Well, pop that on there. Pop, pop. Name that show. Come on. That's not going to go anywhere. But there's one little nugget that I don't want to be there anymore. Clean up. There we go. Clean up all nine. Always seeing something to clean up. Okay, now we'll put these on. I think right about there seems like the spot that's going to go. Oops. I have a bowl, and I need to make some more of them in the bathroom here that holds just some knickknacks, just a knickknack bowl. But it's something kind of similar to this that I made that has a dragon that sat on the lip of it that I like quite a lot. I think he's cute, cute, cute. And I need to do some more of those because they were not hard to make. But man, is he cute. He's an adorable little fella. And I like making dragon bowls. I don't know about you guys, but it was fun. I liked it. I liked it. Okay, so this one can go. Let's see. Yeah, I think yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yep. Oh man, it's so sticky. It wants to stick already. But don't count on it. Don't get cocky because boy, have I done that. Been like, oh, look, it's sticking. I don't need to score it. I don't need to put any of my vinegar water solution on it. Yeah, you do. Because it will fire and it will pop off during the fire and you will be sad. Get off there. Get off. Do I want the fourth one? Don't know that I do. Oh, looks rather appropriate like that. And again, this is just, like, man, you could do so many different things here. This is just something that I could do kind of quick and off the top of my head. In fact, now I kind of wish I'd done the dragon, but that's okay. Next time. It takes a lot longer to do the dragon. I said it's easy, but it takes a lot longer to do a dragon than it does a flower. A plant. Just making sure that these get smoothed out because there were definitely nicks in them. Trying to make sure I keep it at an angle where you can see what I am doing. Just looking for any pieces that shouldn't be there. Anything that looks kind of sharp or rough, things that are gonna not feel good when you pick up the mug. I'm looking for that kind of stuff. And now I'm looking inside too for any rough bits. This really doesn't have much, just that one spot that I mentioned before, which I pretty much already took care of with my finger. You can take this. I think I will since I made it already. Here we go. I got this already, so why not? Let's use it. Use it or you could lose it. There we go. So I just took that one extra, serendipitously extra petal and put it on the handle. Oh, you can't see that? There we go. Now you can. Ta-da! And the thing I said I have that this will help you if you want to really even flip or even opening. That's what this is for, is so that, you can use it to build a really even one. Um, like I said, I got these and then that's literally the first time I've had it inside of a cup. So that tells you how often I use them. That's literally the first time I've had it inside one. But I got them to use with these other um, slab forms, which makes more sense, I think. But that is, from here, before I do any more like carving or anything on this, I want to let this get a little more leather hard. So for a class evening, I would walk away for a while and let it dry. And then it's not going to get leather hard in an evening, but it's going to get dry enough that I can do a little bit more detail to it. So in another if I give it 30 minutes, particularly in the summer. Well, that's not even true because in the winter, the heater in here is a pretty dry heater. So, no, 30 minutes is 30 minutes. So 30 minutes, you're going to have, it's going to be very different, and you're going to be able to come back and do some sketching on it. And I say sketching, but I mean, some work, needlework, some work with this, some drawing kind of thing. I wouldn't try to do that right now because it's just too wet and it's going to pill up and honestly cause you a lot of heartache. If you want to affix anything else to it, this is when you do it. So more detail, if you want two handles, any of those kind of things, this is when you do it. But if you're going to want to do any writing on it, if you're going to want to do any sketching, like I said, on it, anything like that, you're going to be better off walking away, grabbing a snack, going out to the garden, hanging out. We have what I call the outdoor living room here, which is like one of my favorite places to hang out now. Um, but it's just right outside with a little fountain and just to hang out, um, hanging out for like half an hour, and then coming back and doing any next bits and pieces to it. Or it can be done, if you've got a limited time frame and you're like, oh, I know it's a 3 hour class, but I can do an hour and a half. Well, then this is you can do this easily with the beginning of class, intro, and build in an hour and a half. This could be a product. But like I said, that was 2.5 pounds of clay, probably a little heavy. I like my stuff heavy. I'll get you close to it. Let's bring you in. Ooh, trip you up. Bring you in. There's the inside. You can see a little detail there, nothing frou-frou. I'll make some little lines and stuff in it once it gets a little drier. You don't want to go sideways. Nobody wants to go sideways. Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition. And then the next phase after it dries, of course, I have really gotten into, woohoo, there you go. That was a ride, wasn't it? That was fun. That was a good time. You don't know what's going to happen up in here. I have gotten recently very into single fire. So I single fire most of my pottery now. So this one, since I made this, I will be waiting about 2 weeks, week and a half, 2 weeks, because you want it to be really dry, which means you can't like rush this. Unfortunately, this won't be ready for the next show I'm at. But I wait a week and a half, 2 weeks, depending on the weather, let it dry. Then I'll glaze it, and then I'll let it dry for another week and a half, 2 weeks. So it takes a while, it takes a hot minute, and then I'll glaze it, or not glaze it. Oh my gosh! Then I'll fire it, and I just fire it that one time. But it is a very slow fire, and it has a ramp, and the ramp takes, I forget exactly how long it takes, which is hilarious because I had to sit there on the floor and program it. But it takes like 6 hours to get to a certain temperature, and then it hangs there for several hours, and then it takes several more hours, and then it hangs there for several hours, and then it takes a couple more hours, and then it gets to, I think it still hangs there, and then it takes a couple more hours, and then it gets to the maximum temperature, which is above 2000 degrees. Wow, right? And then it slowly cools, and just the cool can take Oh my God, that can take 12 hours just to cool. So it is not fast as you can imagine. So this isn't like a instant gratification artwork by any means. So that's single fire for classes because it's how I learned. And it tends to be a little more forgiving, and a little faster, I guess. But I tend to do double the I guess what's the more popular technique, which is two fires. So we'll do the class and we'll do the bisqueware, which is what this is. This is bisque. When it dries, it's bisqueware. And so we'll do this, we'll do the bisqueware, it dries. We do let it dry for about a week and a half, 2 weeks, because you want it to be the most important thing is that it needs to be dry. Needs to be dry. Patience is so important in pottery. Patience, patience, patience. Not necessarily something I'm great at, but pottery will help teach you. So you let it dry really well, you fire it, you get out your stoneware at that point, and it is this is terracotta, of course, that I'm working with, and so it'll be stone, it'll be terracotta, it'll be fired, but it won't be glazed, so it won't be finished, it won't be waterproof, for instance. So it'll still be very porous. This will be super super porous, and it'll soak up water, and so then we glaze it once we put the mineral glazes on. And then those don't have to dry as long. Those actually only need like a day, day and a half, depending on the weather again and how thick the glaze is. Shouldn't be that thick, or else it's going to melt to the kiln shelves. But day, day and a half, 2 days to dry, and then we fire again, and that's the final glaze fire, and then that's when we get the final product out of that. And so that's the other firing method, and that's what I learned initially and what I've tended to use for classes. But I'm definitely tending more towards, at least for my personal stuff, I'm tending more towards the single fire because I do find it very convenient, I guess, and really rewarding. And I'll be honest, I've had knock on wood, a slightly fewer warps and cracks and whatnot in the single fire than I did in the two stage. So there's that. So I don't know if you all even wanted all of that information. So that was new information outside of this, but this is really basic pinch. This is pinch pot. It's pinch mug because nice and functional with a little handle on it. We'll let it dry. I'm going to go ahead and stop on it here. We'll let it dry, but I'll be back around for the glazing, as well as so that you can see the final product. But there will be workshops on this up at the studio above the clouds. And then if there's something else that you want to do, just email me and let me know. I mean, to do a class, I really just need you and like 3 friends. So if you and 3 people have a project that you want, or projects, because with that few people we can do multiple things. It doesn't have to be one thing. We can each have something different. Get in touch with me and let's talk about it. I'm down. Let's do some creative, cool stuff together and figure it out. And if there's something that you wanted to remake that you saw somewhere else, let's figure it out together. I would love to make that happen. But thank you for hanging out while we finished this greenware. That is what this is right here, is greenware, since it is still wet. So we are nice and wet with our greenware. Thank you for joining us for this. And I will see you next time with Serendipity Sellers up here at the studio above the clouds. Hope y'all have a wonderful, wonderful day. And hit me up with any projects you want to do.